has wiped out much of the spring sports action here at Quinnipiac, but that doesn't mean there's a break in the action of our own. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bobcat Breakdown. I'm Jon Alba, and today we have two esteemed panelists on board. Tom Albanese, Zach Daly, they're here. Gentlemen, how are you?
Doing well, John. How are you?
It's good to finally be back on Bobcat Breakdown, John.
And it's good to be back as well, Zach, and I'm glad that everyone who's watching has decided to put up with us. But enough of that. Let's get things started. So we start on the small field. Hannah Lindsley tossed the first no-hitter in Quinnipiac softball Division I history this past Sunday. The junior allowed one walk and hit a batter en route to a 2-0 win versus Manhattan. The Bobcats also took 2 games the day before against Ryder, but that wasn't the impressive part. Quinnipiac slugged 8 homers over the course of the doubleheader, and Lindsley and Jordan Palucci smacking 2 of their own. Guys, the Bobcats are 4-4 in the MAC and are in 5th place, which would be good for a playoff spot in theory. So I ask, how will the rest of the season pan out? Tom, let's start with you.
Well, you know, John, this is going to be an interesting down the stretch for this softball team. And obviously, we talked about they've been hot of late, winning 5 of their last 6 games. And they're starting to really get a feel on their offense. Jordan Palucci and Nikki Barber have really done a great job leading the offensive charge for the Bobcats. And this is a young team. They have a lot of talent, and they've been showing some good strength of late. And obviously, they have had a bunch of hiccups along the way, but which one of them including losing to Fairfield, one of the top teams in the MAC 2 games earlier in the year. But this is going to be an interesting test for the Bobcats, especially this weekend, John, because they're playing Siena twice, and then they're going to be playing Iona at home twice. So obviously, these next 4 games are going to be huge for the Bobcats. And we've seen them over this last few weeks really start to shine. And yes, the pitching may not be there. Obviously, for Hannah Lindsley over the weekend against Manhattan, it was there as she threw the no-hitter, as you talked about. But this team definitely has a lot to look forward to, and I definitely could see this team doing well down the stretch.
See, Tom, I got to disagree with you. I don't think this team's going to do well down the stretch at all. They've played the easy part of their MAC schedule so far. This team has played 8 games in the MAC so far. That's more than any other team in the conference right now. And you neglected to mention anything about the bottom part of that lineup. Wow. Once you get past Jordan Palucci in that lineup, this team can't hit. You barely have players hitting above 200 in that
Zach,
lineup.
You got 4 players on this team that are hitting over 300.
Yeah, but you can't have those 4 players carry the team. What happens when you need the other 5 players in the lineup?
I mean, there's 9 people in a lineup. So 4 out of 9 is a pretty good number, wouldn't you say so?
All right, when you have those 4 players hitting, great. If you can't get anything from the other 5, okay. But the pitching is also the problem. Yes, Hannah Lindsley had a no-hitter, but that was only her one shining moment this season in the circle. Sydney Roby's doing her best to carry this pitching staff, but after you get past Roby, Hannah Lindsley, she's been spotty this year, and then you get to Katie Alfieri. Don't even get me started with her pitching this morning. Her ERA is somewhere in the 9s right now.
Zach, you're saying that Lindsley's only shining moment was that. Lindsley's leading the team in wins.
Again, this team earlier on in the season didn't have run support. Once you got past Jordan Palucci in that lineup, the team was batting, I want to say, around 170, 180. Is it starting to come around now? Yes. Their overall team batting average is starting to creep up just a little bit. That's because Palucci's starting to hit, Roby's continuing to hit, and then you have Abby Johnson, Courtney Solt, players like that, along with Nikki Barber at the top of the lineup, still hitting. But you got to see contributions from that lower part of the lineup if you want anything to come out of this Bobcat softball team this year. And like I said, they're playing some of the easier teams in the MAC right now. Like Tom said, they still have to play the Sienas. They still have to play the Ionas. They still got to get the tough teams out of the way. So if you ask me this question a couple weeks down the road, how do you think they're going to fare? I'll have a better idea then. But right now, the competition they're facing just isn't there.
Let's put it at this perspective. There are 6 teams that can make the softball playoffs. Quinnipiac finds itself in that top 6 right now. There's a little bit of disparity as well. Quinnipiac comes into this just on the outside of the border there. You don't think that they can fall below that barrier, or do you think that they're going to find themselves in that upper echelon of 6 teams or so?
I think they're actually going to be in those upper teams and make the playoffs for this reason. Each of the softball teams right now in the MAC, they're under 500. And you could definitely, obviously the competition among the top teams in the MAC is going to be interesting for the Bobcats, how they're going to perform, as you mentioned, Zach, with their pitching. But I think in this conference, any of these teams could beat any of the teams on any given day. You saw a couple of weeks ago, Hannah Lindsley gave up like 8 or 9 runs. Not a good pitching outing. But what does she do against Manhattan? She throws a no-hitter. It just depends on how this team can do on any given day. And you want to try to get those consecutive wins, obviously. As I talked about earlier, they have won 5 out of their last 6 games. So they're starting, I think, to see themselves get motivated and come together as a team. And obviously, yes, they are a group of young players, but I think they're definitely starting to find themselves together. And I think they could definitely go far this year.
Tom, you said that the Bobcats are one of the only teams sitting at 500 in the MAC. They're sitting in 5th at a 4-4 record right now.
Okay.
That's 4 teams above them with either a 500 record or better.
Now, I didn't say the MAC. I said an overall
You
record.
also, though, referring to the MAC, you also have, after Quinnipiac, you have teams at 2-2, 1-1. And I mentioned earlier that the weather hasn't been good this year, and it really has messed up the MAC on both sides of the equation. But, Zach, you got to think that gives you a little bit of breathing room, doesn't it?
See, like I said, the Bobcats have played more conference games than any other team in the MAC right now. And the way this team's built and the way they're performing right now, like I said, granted, they're starting to come around a little bit. But I think playing more games, if they had, maybe only 3 or 4 games in the MAC right now, like some of the other teams in the conference do, that would help them better than just playing or have already been playing 8 games. I think the fact that they've played more games doesn't help them because I think that they still have to play better teams, and those teams could beat the Bobcats down the road.
All right, well, like the softball team, baseball can make some noise in the conference as well. The team is a winner of 4 of its last 6 games, putting the Bobcats at 4-3 in the MAC. Vin Guglietti leads the way with a .326 average, while Thomas Jenkins, Justin Thomas, and Matthew Osija have anchored the pitching staff. Now, the conference record is all that matters in college sports, as we just talked about. And Quinnipiac could be a playoff contender towards the end of the season. Is this a playoff team, guys?
You know what? I'm going to say this team has a chance, an outside chance, at making the playoffs. The pitching staff's young, but they're talented. You already mentioned names like Jenkins, Thomas. These guys can pitch, and they've proved it all season long. Thomas's ERAs, I want to say down in the 3s right now. That's good. His record's at 0-2. If this team wants to make the playoffs, they have to hit. They have to get contributions from someone other than Guglietti, other than Blumenthal, and other than Donahue. And Donahue's even got to step his game up. He's only batting 254 right now. So if the Bobcats, just like the softball team, if the baseball team can get contributions from other parts of the lineup, I think this team has the pitching staff to make a decent run at a playoff spot.
See, the pitching, Zach, has been good this season, but I'm going to have to disagree with you on that. I don't see this team making the playoffs, and specifically for the offense, as a team right now, they're batting .224. Obviously, that's not going to get the job done, as you have other teams like Canisius who have dominated the MAC over the last several years with their high talented offense. And you're looking at a team right now that has some good offensive players, but they just have not been producing this season. And Scott Donahue, as you mentioned, Blumenthal has been there as well, and obviously Guletti's really their only offensive threat right now. You've got to get more people in. And one person you didn't mention, Nick Savali, one of the seniors on this Bobcat team, batting under 200 right now. He's someone that, maybe not looked at as the best hitter on the team, but he still, as one of the senior leaders on this team, needs to contribute. And this team, they're going to have a lot of tough competition as the softball team down the stretch. But with the lack of offensive support, unlike what the softball team has, I don't see this baseball team making the playoffs.
Now, guys, this team still has Iona left in front of it. It still has Canisius left in front of it. Going down the MAC standings, you have Siena and Canisius leading the way. Zach, you don't think that's an issue, though?
It could be an issue, but they don't play those teams till a little further down the road. Siena's sitting in first place in the MAC right now with a 5-1 record. Overall, they're 5-23. So again, I don't know what team Siena's played in the MAC yet.
But it's all about the conference record, though, Zach. It doesn't matter who you're playing. It's the conference record.
I'd like to see which teams Siena have played in the MAC. Have they played the upper tier teams and been able to beat the Ionas, the Canisius, or have they played the bottom tier teams that they've beaten, the Riders or the St. Peters?
Regardless of Siena, though, again, Canisius is still in the equation.
Canisius is going to be in the equation, but just like in softball, there's 6 playoff spots in baseball. So that's why I think the Bobcats sitting at 4-3 in 5th place right now. I think as long as their offense is able to if they're able to click later on in the season, when they really get into conference play down the road, then I think this team's going to have an outside shot at making the playoffs. Do I think they're going to make the playoffs? I think it's still too early to tell, but I think this team has the pitching to make the playoffs.
So you think that they already have the established pitching? Because can we say that there is a true standout on the staff? I mentioned there were several names who were in the equation, but is there a standout here? In years past, Derek Lamacchia, for example, those were the guys who was getting looked at. Gary Binkowitz has been good coming in later in the games, but is there one guy that this team can actually lean on?
I don't think there's one guy you can lean on. Last year, this team, they leaned on Derek Lamacchia, and you saw that this team went out there and they only got Lamacchia 2 to 3 runs a game, and that hurt him down the stretch. His record wasn't where the Bobcats wanted it, even though his ERA was one of the lower ones in the NEC last year. But this year, I think they have multiple guys they can rely on. The one guy I do want to see perform a little better is Nick Fabrizio. If he can perform a little better, he pitched in the NECBL, one of the better college summer leagues in the country last year. So if he can use the talent and the skills he learned from pitching in that league, take him to the MAC, I think he's going to be able to help the Bobcats pitching staff.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap up our baseball discussion. We're going to take a quick break here on the Bobcat Breakdown. Don't go away. The Bobcat Shop, located at 1010 Sherman Avenue in Hamden. Your #1 choice for Bobcat merchandise. The Bobcat Shop features 2 floors of countless styles and colors. With a full 19,000 square foot screen printing and embroidery operation on the premises, Campus Customs and Simplify can design and decorate any garment or promotional product as quickly as needed. Stop in and say hi. Welcome back to the Bobcat Breakdown. I'm Jon Alba, and now we're going to shift things over to the over and to the under. So, gentlemen, I'm going to throw some numbers out to you, and all you got to do is tell me over or under. So we'll start this one off with the baseball team. Last year, the NEC baseball team, a little more successful than in years past, but at the same time, not quite the amount of success as they want to. 17 wins overall, over or under 17 wins this season for the Quinnipiac Bobcats baseball team. Let's start with Zach.
I'm going to say over. I think, like I said in the first segment, I think this team, they do have the pitching staff, unlike they had last year, that can piggyback them to some wins. I think this pitching staff can win a lot more of the 3-2, 2-1 games than last year's staff could. And if Guglietti keeps hitting the way he's been hitting, and as long as you have that offense, just pick their average up just a little bit, sitting at a 223 right now. If they can get that up to about a 240, 250 if they're lucky, I think this team could win 17 games, Tom.
You know, Zach, I'm going to go under for this one. Like I said earlier, this team, yes, they've been built on the pitching, but you always have to have some offense to help drive in those runs. Right now, obviously, their offense has been sluggish of late, and this team has also committed a lot of errors in the field, and sometimes even unexcusable errors, and you can't do that if you're the Bobcats, especially on the defensive end. So, I mean, can they get to 17 wins? It's possible based on the offense from Guglietti, who's been really carrying this offense, but I'm going to go just under 17.
See, the reason I say 17 is I think this team is just more, or over 17, I'm sorry, is I just think this team's more talented than they were last year or the year before that. And, pitching's going to win you games. As long as you get good pitching, your hitting can, kind of be a little subpar. It still has to get up. It still needs to improve a little bit.
Zach, there were points last season where the offense was at a high point, and they were scoring a bunch of runs and really contributing on the offensive end and helping their pitching staff. You just have not seen that so far this season, and they've been losing a lot of those close games where the pitching kind of goes into that consideration. They just have, which the pitching has been there, but the offense has not been there, and that's something that you need to do there.
We're going to switch over to softball now. Same exact question, because ironically, these two teams both finished with 17 wins last year. Softball this year, just 8 wins so far. Again, just like the baseball team. Guys, 17's your number, over or under? Tom?
Well, I'm going to switch it this time. I'm going to go over for the softball team. And again, I think that the softball team has more of a chance to make the playoffs than the baseball team does. And I see a lot more offensive weapons on this team. And it's just, they're going to make sure that they do a good job in terms of all the players that they have and all the weapons that they have for this team. And the way that they've been playing, winning 5 of the last 6 games, I think they're going to continue that winning track. And I'm going to go over 17 wins.
All right, guys, thanks for playing the over the under. Right after this, we're going to have an interview with baseball player Vin Guglietti. We'll be right back.
I could really go for a Ray and Mike sub right now.
Come to Ray and Mike's and try our Philly chicken with cheese for just over $4, giant cheesesteak subs, and mouth-watering boar's head sandwiches for as low as $4.75. Q-Cash accepted just a mile down the road on Whitney, here at Ray and Mike's.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. I'm now joined by the Bobcats first baseman, Vin Guglietti. Vin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Coming into this season, what were some improvements you were trying to make on your game for this year?
Well, I wanted to improve on my hitting from last year. Every year when I go into playing, I have high expectations for myself. So, with Coach Delaney's help and Skip's help, they really helped me develop my offensive game. My defensive side of the house is, something I work on all the time as well. Pretty much every asset of the game, Skip and Coach Delaney really emphasize that you have to work as hard as you can every day to improve, and that's what I've been trying to do.
Now, this past summer, you played in the NECBL with the Plymouth Pilgrims. How is playing in such a high-caliber summer league able to help you make some of those improvements?
Well, the pitching was very good. It helped me become a smarter hitter. And, of course, when you're a smarter hitter and it transitions over to Quinnipiac, for me personally, it obviously helps the team out a lot. And that's the biggest thing I want to do anywhere I play, is to help the team the best I can. So taking what I learned from the NECBL, learning to be more patient, see more pitches, see the ball deeper, I think it's starting to transition over, and we've been on a pretty good winning streak so far. So I think it's been helping a lot.
Now, you've been making these adjustments all season long. How have you seen yourself grow from your freshman year now to your junior year?
I've gotten a lot smarter in the box. I've been more patient, like I said. I think my walks have gone up tremendously, which is something I, smile when I see. And just picking pitches out that I can hit. When they make a mistake, I'm ready to hit it. And where I am in the lineup, I'm not going to see a lot of pitches to hit. So I just have to be patient, and that's something I didn't do my freshman year. I just went up hacking, and I really didn't have a plan. So that's definitely changed from freshman year.
All right, let's turn our attention to this season. Now, this year, the weather hasn't been great here in New England. You guys have had a lot of rainouts, especially at home. Tomorrow's game versus Hartford's even been moved to Hartford. So how have you guys been able to stay fresh and kind of not worry about the weather and just try and focus on baseball?
Well, Skip and Coach Delaney, they tell us, in practice sessions when we're practicing on the field and it's wet and it's cold and it's tough to manage cold weather and it being wet. They tell us if we could practice through this, we can go through anything in a game. So they've been putting us in the mindset that, it may be a little rainy, it may be cold, but you know what? You're playing baseball. Who cares what the weather's like? And that's the mentality we take into every game. As far as the rainouts, nothing you could do about them, but once the next game comes, we're ready to go.
Now, you said it, the offense is starting to come around, and you seem to be piggybacking that. You got the highest batting average on the team. Do you feel any pressure to help carry the offense, especially sitting in the 4 or 5 hole?
Not at all. we have great hitters. I have great hitters in front of me, great hitters behind me. So there's really no pressure for me to do anything good, even though, I've been doing pretty well lately. I have great guys around me to help protect me in the lineup. So, no, I don't feel any pressure in the lineup at all.
Season's still a little early, especially conference play, but you guys are doing pretty good in the conference right now, especially moving over to the MAC. Sitting in 5th right now in the second to last playoff spot. What are you guys going to have to do to continue to push towards the playoffs and try and qualify?
Well, we have to have good pitching like we have been, good hitting like we have been. Just keep doing what we're doing and improve on the wins that we get and learn from the losses that we get as well. Skip and Coach Delaney emphasize that a lot, that you can learn more from losses than wins. So when we take what we learn from the losses and they start turning into wins, then it starts to roll on and we start winning more and more and more. So Coach Delaney and Skip have really been good about, okay, if you lost, keep your head up. If you win, don't get too high, don't get too low. Always stay on course throughout the entire season. I think that we're doing a really good job so far.
Hey, Vinny, thanks for joining us. We'll be right back on Bobcat Breakdown.
My name is Doug Thoreau. For nearly 90 years, 3 generations of my family have been providing the highest quality repair service. Insurance companies will refer car owners to lesser quality shops to save money. At Thoreau Auto Body, we provide the highest quality repairs with a lifetime guarantee to maintain the safety and value of your car. That's the quality you deserve. Thoreau Auto Body. Our best work goes unnoticed.
Welcome back to the Bobcat Breakdown. I'm Jon Alba. It's been a topic that has swept the nation over the past several weeks. The National Labor Relations Board granted the Northwestern University football team the right to unionize at the end of March, a historic ruling in college athletics. Now, the teams claim that the workers generally have the right to organize and hold collective bargaining sessions in favor of better pay and conditions, and the work put in by the team was similar to anyone else's out there in this economic climate. Now, the players could potentially also make money as school employees with this decision. So the ruling only affects Northwestern right now, guys, but should other college sports teams be allowed to unionize?
You know what? This is a tricky situation with the Northwestern football team being allowed to unionize. I think you're going to see other schools trying to take that step, or at least other football teams trying to take that step. But where do you draw that line between what a professional athlete is and what a college athlete is? Professional athletes are allowed to be paid, and the NCAA prides itself on its amateur status. Well, you know, if these Northwestern football players, if they're going to be able to make money down the road, everyone else is going to be like, we're doing the exact same thing as them. We're putting in just as much work as them. Why can't we get paid? And I think that's going to cause a very tricky situation for the NCAA. So I wouldn't be surprised if more schools start to unionize. You don't see the NCAA step in and try and shut this down because, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of the NCAA, but they love where they're sitting right now because they got all the power. The students have none of the power. The athletes have none of the power. They're the ones making all the money, and they're going to want to keep it that way right now.
Yeah, definitely. There could be a situation where it comes where many more schools will try to unionize, just like Northwestern. But based on the situation of what goes on with these Northwestern football players, it's interesting. Like, do I feel that they should obviously be paid as professional athletes do? No. Because I think a full scholarship for these players coming to play at a school like Northwestern that does have a good football
Tom,
capability.
Not all of these players have these scholarships.
And I understand
So
that.
I want to open this up, though. We're talking about football here. My question is, can you expand this to all sports? Because I don't think it's fair that just one sport should get to unionize. You know, if we're not just talking football here, we're not just talking basketball here, we're talking baseball, softball, winter track, fall cross country, whatever it is. We're talking about all that here, guys, and they're not just asking for pay. They're asking for scholarships for all athletes to be guaranteed. Is that something that can actually be accomplished?
I don't think it can be accomplished because I don't see these, like the schools that have all these sports. Yes, all these players work extremely hard in their respective sports, but just as a collective thing for each of these players, it's not right, in my personal opinion, to have them be paid in the situation being a college athlete. They have the full scholarships that they
But not
would
all of
be
them
getting.
have a full scholarship. Tom.
The ones that do, it'll be enough for one. The ones that don't, there could be a situation that comes in where maybe they want to do something, maybe sell something, or I don't know. But the situation to me looks at this, that any college athlete could be paid something by doing something just to make something, because sometimes, people
what do you
that
think?
comes in into that situation.
Let's look at Quinnipiac as an example. And John mentioned that not all athletes get full scholarships. Well, at Quinnipiac, you really only see two sports getting full scholarships. You see the basketball team getting full scholarships, and you see the hockey team getting full scholarships. If you look at, like John said, the men's and the women's cross-country team, I don't think any of those athletes are getting a full scholarship. So if this union that the Northwestern football team has expands to all NCAA sports, then you're going to have to give all athletes full scholarships. Well, then where's the rest of your budget going to go? Because you're going to have to put money towards those full scholarships.
And that's exactly it. There has to be a way in my opinion at least, there has to be a way for the athletic institutions to find a way to make profit. Here's an interesting thing to throw out there, guys. Of the major BCS subdivision schools, or bowl division, I should say, you're only seeing 50 to 60% of those schools actually making profit. Now, that totally excludes anything from basketball or any other sports. So is it possible to, in theory, unionize these other sports to guarantee that those scholarships can actually be given to those athletes?
Tom, go ahead.
It's an interesting thing because just the way that these other sports are, yes, maybe getting all these athletes full scholarships will help the athletic departments of these universities, help in the revenue situations. But the way of the matter is, college athletes are there to play with their respective sports, and if they do get a full scholarship to play, that's good for them. But if they don't, they really have to go on their own and just play the sport as a college athlete. They're not professional, and this situation.
Even though they're getting treated like someone in the workforce, as these Northwestern players are arguing.
Personally, though, I was actually pretty shocked to hear about Northwestern in the first place, and this is a situation where, in my personal opinion, college athletes should not be paid in any circumstance. If they get a full scholarship, that's going to take them through college. And the way that these athletes have been playing, they're going to
scholarship, Tom.
But so if they're not, then they just go play with their normal seasons. It doesn't matter.
Let me cut in here. You said, I think the one word we got to look at, and let me start off by saying I hate this word. I hate the phrase student athlete. And the NCAA prides itself on them being students first, athletes second. So they're saying that their full-time job is to be a student, and athletics is something that they're doing on the side. They're choosing to play football. They're choosing to play basketball. They're choosing to run cross-country. They don't have to choose to do these things. Some of these students, though, need that opportunity. They need football. They need basketball to get that full scholarship, to go to a school, to provide themselves for an education. When you go to a big BCS school, when you go to an Alabama and LSU to play football, and you're going on a full scholarship, you're probably having a dream to go pro someday. So players like that, they treat football or they treat basketball, they treat it as their job. They don't treat being a student as their job.
So Zach, should they then be allowed to collectively bargain for better facilities, for better working conditions, like the Northwestern team is arguing, with what you said in mind?
I think if you look at some of the facilities across the country, they're pretty nice. I think they have a right to have some of the top facilities because they're paying, or people are paying a lot of money for this. Their full scholarships coming from somewhere, so someone's got to pay that money, whether it comes in from a TV revenue deal or whatever the money is going to come from. That money, and we mentioned about athletes across all sports being allowed full scholarships. If that happens, where's that money going to go? Because that money that goes to full scholarship won't be able to go to providing big bowl games, to be providing postseason tournaments in general. That money is going to have to go somewhere. Or the money that goes to the programs right now, if it goes to scholarships, you're not going to be seeing some of the things you're seeing right now in college sports.
All right, well, that's all we have for you guys today here on the Bobcat Breakdown. A big thanks to Tom and Zach for joining us. Don't forget to head over to theqbsn.com and q30television.com for more information about the Bobcat Breakdown. You can also keep up with us on Twitter at QBSN and at Q30 Sports. I'm Jon Alba, and we'll see you next time.